Our own planet is only a tiny part of the vast cosmic tapestry, a starry fabric of worlds yet untold.
For the next 90 minutes, your mind shall become engaged with minds that are very much like your own. Join Paul Cagle, Sushi, and Springwolf as they discuss various topics and people that we all have questions about. You're taking part in the Ænigma Project.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Ænigma Project. My name is Paul Cagle and tonight we will be talking about Brazilian scientists studying psychics and playing truth or tale. But first I would like to introduce my cohorts in this madness, Springwolf.
Hello.
And Sushi.
Hey everybody.
How are you guys doing? No, really, don't talk at once.
I am running like crazy today. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I got.
My god.
And that's it for the Ænigma Project. We're done.
Pretty much.
I told Paul in Spring that I was going to be late today, but I got out of work a little earlier than I thought I would and ran home. I had to go pick up a daughter, ran home, made dinner, got everything set up, logged in, went on Skype, and Paul said, hey, we're starting the show. Oh my god.
I got.
Oh. Anyway, so it's been a Monday of Mondays. Let's just say that.
It kind of has been, hasn't it?
Today was the first day of school, and I've gotten so used to staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning hard so I can sleep in the next day until 12 noon. Now I had to go to bed early last night, so I didn't sleep, and I got up at 6 o'clock this morning.
You poor little
Oh my
angel.
God.
You didn't get to sleep till noon? Oh no.
No.
However,
Go, boy.
Well, the Ænigma Project is canceled. We're going to let Spring go back to sleep.
We're all going back to sleep.
Nah, I'd sleep to noon too if I could have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, see, I would stay up until, I'd stay up until after midnight, so when I posted the card, it would be on the right day.
Right.
And I wouldn't have to go and change it the next day when I ended up to finally get up, so I was staying up late just for you people.
That's right.
I get up I'm old now, so I get up 2 or 3 times during the night just so I can go pee.
Yeah.
So I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and turn around and go back to bed, close the door, make sure the light's not coming in the room, and not sleeping makes you sleep till noon. That's my excuse, and I'm not changing it.
It is going to be one of those shows. I'm going to go ahead and warn everyone right now. It has been one of those days. We may or may not stick to topic. We may or may not make any sense on the topic. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. It could get kind of crazy.
Holy crap, I'm not in the chat room.
I am, but I'm not on that tabs.
Okay. Holy crap, I'm not a terror. All right, before we get started, I want to remind everyone to check out our blog at ænigmaproject.com. You can see what shows that we have coming up. You can send us questions or comments for the show. You can also send us questions or comments to Paul at ænigmaproject.com or call the hotline at 423-521-2930. And don't forget to check out Spring's blog at springwolf.net. Holy crap, she's in the chat room. And please
Holy crap, I made it.
Please help spread the word about the show. I didn't get notes on what was our last show that we did?
Wasn't it Karma Around the World?
Oh yeah, Karma from Around the World. We do so many shows that we've done it for so long.
It kind of runs together.
It does kind of run together after a while, and I can't remember what's what. So who knows? Hopefully our sound's good, because I think Sushi looked really loud on the audio here, louder than me. Anyway, and Next week's show is to be determined because we haven't come up with the topic yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, so if you guys want something, to listen to, give us some ideas.
Yeah.
It takes an effort to go find this stuff,
Especially after this many years. I mean, you just kind of, you kind of start running out of show ideas after a while, and it gets difficult. So, you guys are a lot louder than me for some reason.
You're de-rezzing.
I can't tell.
Yeah, you sound okay over here, but when I talk and you talk, it's like my bar's down really low and yours is up really high. So anyway. All right, so Brazilian scientists study psychics. This was an article that Spring brought to our attention over one of our Facebook discussions. Hi, Abel. And so, Spring, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Well, what caught my attention about this one was how they're studying the psychics' brains.
Right.
They give them. You know how when you go and get a brain, well, you may not know. For those of you that have never had a brain scan or a scan in the hospital, you go to the hospital and they usually shoot something like iodine. They shoot something in your veins so that they can watch the flow of whatever it is they give you going through whatever it is they're trying to scan. Like they'll watch the iodine go through your blood vessels to see if you've got any clogs. They'll watch it flow through your heart to see how your heart's working, if it's pumping properly.
Right.
Well, these people were shooting radiation into the brains of local psychics, 10 of them, 5 of them who were very experienced, and 5 of them who were, well, basically novices. And they were watching the activity of their brains from, a regular, normal alpha state. Hi, how you doing? I'm talking to you sitting here at this table. To the psychic going into a spiritual trance to communicate with the dead. And some of their scans showed an increase in activity in some of the psychics, and not much at all in some of the other ones. And it was interesting that an increase in activity was in the 5 experts, and the not going on very much was in the novices.
Right. Well,
I thought that was interesting.
First of all, I'm glad that the scientific community is getting behind this and doing these experiments, because I think that can tell us a lot about the human brain and abilities that we may or may not have, because a lot of people claim to be psychic, but it's so difficult to actually prove it in a scientific setting that it leads one to believe that it's not actually true, that no one is psychic. People are convincing themselves they are when they're not. And I think it's interesting that they're not trying to necessarily prove or disprove that people are psychics, but that they are looking at the brain function of people who claim they are psychics, right, trying to see what parts of the brain activate and actually are involved in this type of thing. Sushi, what do you think about it?
Well, I think it's a good start. Yeah. I'll just say that. I think it's wonderful too, just like you were saying, that people are actually studying this. I'd like to see, and maybe this will be the control group, for later experiments, because obviously, this has to be duplicated.
Right.
So, and then I would have liked to have seen them do a control group of people who don't claim to be psychic.
Don't complain to be psychic. Say, oh God, I'm psychic today.
Those guys just hate me.
God, I'm psychic today. What is this, velvet?
Claim to be psychic. They don't claim. I'd go.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to see a brain scan done on you.
I know.
Girl.
Oh my God, no. So, I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm just thrilled that people are looking at this.
Yeah. And basically what they did was they took 10 people who are automatic writers who go into trances and then write what they experience or hear or see and claim that they're speaking to the dead. And they looked at the parts of the brains that activate during this. And I was looking for the information here. But the mediums had anywhere from 15 to 47 years of psychography is what it's called. Psychography experience is when you communicate with the dead and you do automatic writing. And so they studied these people to see when they went into a trance what parts of the brain activated. And so I thought that was interesting.
Let me give a quick little overview. When you're doing automatic writing, the first thing you do is, well, not necessarily the first. You might pick up the pen and paper first. Okay, but so, you get really calm and focused, and you try to remove your consciousness outside your body, and then a spirit will come through your physical body and take over control of your hands. Now, I know a very, very good automatic writer. She's right-handed, but when she was doing a writing for me, she switched her hands. She switched the pencils to her other hand, and I've known her for a long time, and I trust her. I asked her once, does she, write with both hands, and she said she's not very good with her left hand, but she can write almost good enough that you can actually read what she's writing. So she's not proficient.
Right.
Well, she was doing a writing for me one time, and she went into her trance, and she switched the pencils to her left hand. And it was the most beautifully written, almost calligraphy. Nice. It was just gorgeous. When I showed it to her after she came out of her trance, she told me she didn't know calligraphy. She's never tried to write calligraphy, but it seemed like she knew exactly what she was doing when she wrote with her left hand. So what they will tell you that they're doing is that they're giving the control over their physical arm to the spirit that's coming through to talk to you.
Nice.
So I'm not, it's interesting to me that the study said when they began to do their writing, the frontal lobe experienced far less activity than usual. Because when you think about people being a psychic and being able to get information, you think that you would think that it's coming out of your third eye, and your third eye is right in the middle of your forehead above your eyebrows.
Right.
Where the frontal lobe would be.
Yeah.
So I expected there to be movement
in
that area more than the others.
What it says is psychographers showed lower levels of activity in the brain's frontal lobe regions of the left anterior cingulate and right precentral gyrus during psychography. These areas are linked with reasoning, planning, general language, movement, and problem solving, perhaps reflecting an absence of focus, self-awareness, and consciousness during psychography. These psychographers also experience less activity in the left hippocampus, which is linked with emotion, and the right superior temporal gyrus, which is linked with hearing. So you would think that if these people were faking it, and I'm not saying they are or aren't, that area of the brain would be more active because it is linked with reasoning, planning, generating language, movement, and problem solving. So they were writing, and the part of the brain that generates language was less active than normal. So do you guys think that this lends itself to some credibility towards the psychics, that maybe they're for real?
Well, of course, I'm going to say yes because I'm psychic.
Right.
So, I guess I'm not a very good guide on that.
Well, I think it's interesting. We do know that just because an area of the brain has been, pinpointed to control these functions, that's not necessarily the case. And like in brain injury patients, that they'll slowly recover time because the other areas of their brain will take over those functions.
Yeah, but they never recover fully because that part of the brain is damaged.
Well, I know but
they build new pathways.
But it's not this chunk of your brain does this chunk of your brain does that chunk of your brain does that. It's not that cut and dry.
Yeah.
When it comes to brain. But I remember seeing a study about improvisational musicians doing this same kind of thing. They hooked up all these jazz guitarists, or whatever, did the same exact. Sounds like the same exact study.
Yeah. They
scanned their brains while they were doing their thing, and had similar results. That this part of the brain, which they had expected to intensify. The activity would intensify in that area. It did not. It was somewhere completely different. So I think we have so much more to learn about how the brain works, and I think this is a beautiful study that needs to be repeated and done over and over and over again with all different kinds of people claiming to be psychics. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I would like to see. I'm sorry. I would like to see some of these studies include someone who is psychic but is also scientific in their own right. Like for instance, if I was involved in the study, they're talking about looking at the brain and what the brain does, but they're not incorporating some of what the metaphysical world views as how the body is created with the spiritual side, the soul. So, like I'm talking about the third eye. Well, we know there's no physical third eye in the brain. So the way we would translate it, if I was talking to somebody that doesn't understand what the chakras are, how they are related to Kundalini energy, things that we know of as, a metaphysical spiritual type person, psychic type anatomy of the soul kind of thing, versus how we know the physical body is put together. So it's kind of like merging the physics with the metaphysics.
Right.
Understand the physics of the physical body, but not everybody doing these studies understands the metaphysical components of the spiritual body.
Well, but I think from their standpoint, they don't need to. What they're trying to do right now is look, the very first glimpse of, okay, let's get a look at the person's brain that is psychic. They're not trying to tie it all together right now. They're just looking at it, trying to get a baseline, trying to understand, trying to get some ideas of where to go next. And all they're doing is looking at the straight data. They're not necessarily interpreting it yet. And I think that's kind of what they need to do. If they go into it with preconceived notions, then they're going to skew their data one way or the other. Just like you and I were talking before the show, and you said you'd read several articles about other studies that have been done where they kind of already had they were already predisposed towards what the outcome was going to be, and that's the way it turned out.
So that's just bad science. Sorry.
Right.
You can't go into a study with preconceived. I mean, you state a hypothesis, yes.
Right.
But
you can't allow
But going in and I want to definitely prove this. I know it. I know this is true. No, you're testing it to see if it is true or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of these studies was to prove. I need to yell at the boy child. One of these studies was trying to prove that it was not at all a reality, that it was an individual's brain playing tricks on them, convincing them that this is what they were seeing when it was just their imagination.
Yeah, bad science. Bad.
Yeah. So you really have to go into it with like no preconceived notions, get a baseline, and then build on that.
Right.
You would hope so.
Yeah, really.
What do you think about them using something like okay, I'm tired. I forgot what they used. The bad stuff.
The radioactive isotopes or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common. That is a normal procedure for looking at the brain that way. So it's something they do all the time. It's just not something you can do every single day. I was looking to see if it said what it was, but they were injected with a radioactive tracer, and that is common. That's something that's commonly done. Like if you ever go and get, I had to have some stomach stuff done at one point in time, and you have to drink barium, and it allows them to see your intestines. And I think barium's radioactive, so it's not uncommon. It's just not something you would want to do every single day for like a month.
Yeah, barium is what they use to look at your digestive system.
Yeah.
It's terrible stuff.
Yes, it is. Chalky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like chocolate either.
No. Nasty. But I think what they did is safe. It's just not something they could do on a regular basis. But something that I found interesting was that, it said less expert psychographers showed just the opposite brain behavior, such as significantly increased levels of blood flow in the same areas during psychography. This increased activity may be related to how they apparently had to work harder during psychography, researchers said. So their brains were working harder on the that part of the brain that controls reasoning, planning, generating language, movement, and problem solving was working harder. So I wanted to ask you this. Do you think that shows that one group is more experienced than the others? Or do you think that shows that one group is faking it and one group isn't?
I can't speak to the psychography, but I know when I'm teaching a class for tarot, and one of the things that I do is test them to figure out what they have gotten out of the class. They have to give me a reading, a one-card reading. And the people that have to think about what they're doing, they struggle more. It's not necessarily because they can't do it. It's because they're not trusting what they are doing.
They're second-guessing themselves.
Right. So I'm thinking the ones that have more blood flow may be going through that experience because they're not sure. They want to be doing it, but they're not sure if they're actually doing it. So they think about it more.
Right.
And I think that might be where increase could come from.
Right. Sushi?
Yeah, I'm not sure. What was the question again?
Basically, do you think that the increased blood flow, part of the brain that controls movement, generating language, that kind of thing, do you think that proves that they're, or do you think that it shows that they are not as experienced as the other group, or that maybe they're faking it?
I guess it could go either way. Maybe they're not experienced on getting into that trance-like state. I think and we've talked about like meditative states and trance states before, and Spring was always of the opinion that anybody could do it, right?
Yeah.
So why not people who think they're psychic? They could enter that state. They're just not as good at it.
Right.
So it can go either way.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they are faking it. It's just when they said that, I was like, does that mean that they're not as good, or they're not as experienced, or that maybe they were faking it because they didn't know what they were doing. I don't know. It was just a curiosity thing. But I think it's a good first step. Yeah, everything's popping over here too, Sushi.
Okay, I was kind of explaining myself to Paul in private, going,
Yeah,
because I missed half that conversation.
it's I'm getting a lot of over here too. So
Yeah,
we're having
crazy.
bad weather around this area, so it could be that. I don't know, but I think it's interesting, and I'm glad that they're doing this. And one interesting thing that I find about this article is that they don't prove or disprove anything in here. They're just saying they've got some interesting data to understand the mind. It says the first ever neuroscientific evaluation of mediumistic trance states reveals some exciting data to improve our understanding of the mind and its relationship to the brain, Newberg said. These findings deserve further investigations. So
Yeah, I have not found. I've been kind of searching here to see if this study's been repeated yet, or at least if it has, nothing's out there on the interwebs. I was curious to see if anyone had replicated the study yet, but I'm guessing maybe not.
Spring, did you find where the study had been replicated?
No. I just found where other scientific journals have taken up the paper that was published and done their own interviews and gathered a little bit of their own information from what the study was. Like, for instance, it was in Live Science magazine.
Right. And it's interesting on here, it says, the fact that the psychographers were not mentally ill suggests these unusual experiences might be in common in the general population and not necessarily related to mental disorders. The researchers suggest that as frontal lobe activity decreased, the brain's creativity-related areas became less inhibited, similar to what happens when alcohol or drugs are taken. Likewise, meditation and musical improvisation might be associated with lower levels of brain activity, which may favor relaxation and creativity. So I think it's interesting that they point out the fact that the psychographers were not mentally ill suggests... but
funny.
they kind of had to throw that in there that, hey, these people weren't cray-cray, and this is what we found.
And they weren't on drugs.
Right. So I think it's interesting.
They were drunk.
The way they said, it opened up their less inhibited creativity centers, kind of leans a skeptic to the side of,
well, of course
maybe they're just making it up.
Of course they were daydreaming and making it up. But do you think that's a valid point?
No, I don't, because you have to take the information they're providing in context with what it is they're doing.
Well, see, is what I was thinking as a, kind of an atheist, kind of. That it doesn't matter necessarily if they're actually having a psychic experience or not. What's interesting is the brain activity. That's the cool part.
Right.
Is how do you make your brain do that? That's good enough.
My brain
for
won't
me.
do anything.
My brain was not functioning today much at all.
Well, and I think it does kind of lead skeptics to believe that they're making that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I see why they point stuff like that out, because they have to give all the details.
Yeah.
Doing a scientific study like this. Go ahead.
I don't think that this study is a way to prove whether psychic abilities are real or not. To be honest, since I've been sitting here thinking about it, I think it's just a way. Because how do you measure the energy fields coming into the brain, if there are any? I don't think this proves psychic ability or not. I think it just proves how our brains
Right. And
work.
I don't think that's what they were trying to do. I don't think they were trying to prove or disprove. I think that they said, hey, let's study some psychics and see what parts of the brain are activated. And they were surprised by the findings.
Yeah. Which is, that's perfectly cool with me. I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
To start, you were right.
It's a start, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can go back to a conversation we've had about this before. It very well could be we just don't have an understanding of how energy works, that we can develop a machine that can actually pick it up on, such a small, subtle level.
Right. And it's the same thing we talked about with the paranormal. We currently use on ghost hunts the only equipment we have available because it has given us readings in the past. Now, whether or not that equipment is valid or accurate is a whole different question, but we may not be looking at the right energies or studying the right energies when it comes to stuff like this. So we don't know what am I trying to say? What instruments to use to measure this, because we don't know what we're measuring.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at, is that if we knew what to measure, then we could show it. It's just like our ghost activities, Paul.
Right.
It's hard to know what we're looking for.
Right. If you don't know what energy you're looking for or what specific things that
how do you measure it?
Yeah, how do you measure it if you don't have the correct equipment? But I think this is a good start on, let's look at this area of the brain, or let's look at the brain, what areas are activated. Now, what areas will measure that? So I think it's a good start.
When we're sitting here talking about what to create and what to measure and all that stuff, it made me think of, I was watching some kind of learning channel or something show, and I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Me neither.
Honestly, it went right out of my head.
We were talking about trying to figure out what to measure.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I was watching this learning channel thing, and they were talking about spiritual healing. So basically somebody's doing Reiki on somebody.
Right.
And the Reiki channel was scanning the body of the person that was going to receive the healing, and she had her hands about an inch or two above the person's body. She wasn't touching them. Her hands were just above. So you're talking about a 2-inch gap.
Right.
I wonder if we could develop some kind of, like a pencil-sized probe.
Right.
That can measure the movement of energy, what it's like, in one part of the room, how it changes when it gets closer to the two people, but most interestingly, what happens if you put that probe in between the person's hands and their body. Can you pick up on any kind of energy in that gap? So if you're doing a psychic reading for somebody, you're exchanging energy between that person and something else. If you know that you can pick up on energy between a healer's hand and who they're healing, maybe you could correlate that between the energy between someone doing a reading and someone receiving a reading, where the information's coming from.
Yeah. Yes, Lord?
Yeah, that was my little...
That would be interesting to find out.
Yep.
I think that we don't have the equipment we need. We don't have the understanding, but thankfully they're looking at it and trying. So that's a good first step.
I agree.
Yep. You actually have some legitimate neurologists, I'll call them.
Right.
You have some legitimate people that are actually doing a scientific study. Instead of trying to prove that it exists or doesn't exist, they're just trying to find out, for those people that say they do, what happens in the brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
I like it. I like it.
I would like to see a little bit more of what it was that they wrote. What questions did they ask them? Did they just have them go into trance? What was the criteria?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not have had anything
Unfortunately,
specific.
I don't know. Is the study in Portuguese? Because it was in Brazil. So do we have to know Portuguese?
What, you don't
There
speak
was,
Portuguese?
there was a link that I posted in the chat room that was to the Scientific Live website, and there were some links in there. I don't know if one of those links went to the original study or not. I think it did. I've already closed that tab.
Got it.
Well, everything that I've seen, they've quoted them in English, so.
Yeah.
And let's face it, science is done in English, so. But yeah, but nothing I've read, they don't make any judgment calls on this. Like, they don't
Right.
say, these people aren't psychic or these people are psychic. They say, they tell us they're psychic, we're going to look at their brains, and surprisingly, here's what we found. So I think it's interesting.
It is.
I would like to have one done on my brain just to see what does or doesn't work. I would be more surprised at what worked rather than what didn't work.
I would like to see some of the actual scans. There's a bunch of things I'd like to see comparing it to. We know that there have been some legitimate studies on Buddhist monks through different periods of meditation, how their brains have changed, after 3 years of meditation, after 10 years of meditation, after a lifetime of meditation. When they go into meditation and had their brain scanned, there's a lot of differences in a regular brain and their brains. So we know meditation changes the brain and how it works. I wonder what some of these would look like compared to those scans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it would be interesting. I would like to see it, but I don't know if it'd make any sense to me, but I'm sure it'd be entertaining all the same.
Exactly. You would at least be able to tell where the, white and red parts are lit up.
Right. Yeah. If they offered to study the two of you, would you do it?
Yes, probably.
Sushi. She can't hear us, can she?
What? Hello? No. What?
I said, if they offered to study your brain like that, would you do it?
Maybe. Yeah. I think so. I think I would. Just because I'm curious.
There would be no maybe to it. I would do it in a heartbeat.
I would do it too. Yeah.
Just because I'm curious, and not even to prove the study of psychic versus non-psychic, whatever. I would do it just to see my brain, just to see the activity, just out of curiosity. I think it would be interesting.
I found the paper.
Cool.
Read
I'm
it
gonna
to
post it in the
us.
chat room.
Read me it. But
Master researcher.
yeah. But I
Hello?
think yes.
Hello?
Oh,
Hi.
are we there yet?
I was just saying I found the study online. I'm posting in the chat room.
Cool.
The actual paper.
Cool.
I would like to see more studies like this, and just, I don't know, just open-minded people. Are you guys still there? I think we lost them again. This is the second week in a row where this has happened. Yeah. So I think that it might be on Spring's end, because I think she's the one that's controlling the call right now. But I don't know if we can get them back or not. If not, we'll move on to Truth or Tell and end the show, because it's not really a discussion with one person, and thankfully we're still on the air. The way we used to do the show is, if we lost Spring, I can't hear you at all, Spring. It's like you were completely gone. But the way the show used to work is, if I lost the call, then then you couldn't hear us at all because Spring's Skype was the thing that controlled it. But I don't know. You might want to try disconnecting and reconnecting, guys. I don't know if Sushi can hear us or not. But I can hear you sniff, sniff. Oh, the lightning storm is on its way in, she said. Well, hello. What we may do is just go ahead and move on to Truth or Tale, and then end the show if I can't get the girls back, because there's no point in me just sitting here talking to myself. I do that enough at home alone anyway. But we're going to move on to Truth or Tale. It's basically, I have three stories that I'm going to read, and you have to decide if it's crazy enough to be true or just so stupid that I made it up, and sometimes you can't tell the difference. Hold on just a second. Yeah. See, I don't hear any of you guys, and they're saying that you're not showing up on the monitor thing either, Sushi. So somehow, can you guys talk to each other? This is insane. Okay, so they're going to hang up and see if they can come back. All right, so they have hung up, and let's see what happens next. It's always something fun in the Ænigma Project here. Nobody could hear you before, Sushi. It says call started, so let's see. Hello? I don't hear you guys at all. Hello? I hate Skype issues. I hate it. I hate sitting there going, hello? Hello? Alright, I don't know what to do here. See, I don't hear you guys at all. Let me hang up and call you guys back. Hello? I don't know what's going on. I don't hear you guys. Unless something tore up on my end, which is very possible with my luck. Hell, I don't know what to do. Yeah, it's very possible. We're going to go ahead and do trivia. You guys can type your message in the thing, in the chat room. But number one, contacting the police with a false ghost attack or poltergeist activity is punishable by the electric chair in parts of New Zealand. Truth or Tale? Contacting the police with a false ghost attack or poltergeist activity is punished by the electric chair in parts of New Zealand. Truth or Tale? They are saying tale. Julie says, I hope. Sushi. Evil says true. All right. That is a tale. I completely made that up. I think the problem is on my end because when I played the tail sound, I couldn't hear it at all. So something on my computer has given up the ghost or torn up or something. Let me see if I can check my settings. I don't know if you guys heard the tail sound or not, but I hope. I don't know if you guys can hear me though, right? Okay, they can apparently hear me, and I'm still going out over the audio. So let me try something real quick. Okay. I was changing the sound settings to see if that did anything. Who knows? Okay, so number 2. Greenland sharks live for at least 272 years. Truth or tale? Greenland sharks live for at least 272 years. Truth or tale? Spring says true. Sushi says true. That is the truth. One of the world's largest extant shark species, the Greenland shark, which, as its name suggests, can be found in the waters of the North Atlantic, recently earned itself a place in the record books after researchers discovered that it is actually one of the world's longest-lived animals. According to the study, these unassuming ocean predators commonly live for hundreds of years and enjoy lifespans which far exceed that of any other vertebrate. So I think that's interesting. That's cool. So number 3, the T1000 shape-shifting metal is becoming a reality. Truth or tale? T1000 shape-shifting metal is becoming a reality, like from the Terminator, the liquid metal. Julie says, Spring says true. Julie says tail. And several other truths. Okay. That is the truth. Let's see. Engineers at RMIT University in Melbourne have announced a breakthrough in liquid metal technology. The T1000 from Terminator 2 Judgment Day may now be one step closer to becoming a reality thanks to the development of a fluid-driven, self-propelling liquid metal, a breakthrough that could one day make it possible to create electronic devices that act more like living tissue than conventional solid-state components. In one experiment, the team managed to create a primitive machine by adding a single drop of liquid metal to some water and then adjusting the water's chemistry to make the metal change shape. Using this discovery, we were able to create moving objects, switches, and pumps that could operate autonomously. Self-propelling liquid metals driven by the composition of the surrounding fluid, said project leader Professor Kourosh Kalantirzadeh. Yeah, good luck with that. Eventually, using the fundamental of this discovery, it may be possible to build a 3D liquid metal humanoid on demand like the T1000 Terminator. Although, hopefully, it won't try to kill you. But I want to try something real quick. Yeah, I don't know if this will work or not. But anyway, since we are having issues and I can't hear the girls, but they can hear me, we're going to go ahead and call this show dead. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks to everyone who listened. I'm going to try to play the outro. You may or may not hear it. I don't know. I don't think it's going across. I don't think you're going to be able to hear the outro or so. Yeah, something's wrong over here. But we're going to wrap this up. Thanks to everyone who listened. You guys have a great Monday, a great rest of the week. To girls, she said she has been a girl for over 35 years. But they say, thanks everyone and good night, and we will see you all next week. Bye, everybody.